Hey everybody, this is Wes.
And this is Joe with the World of Wes and Joe.
Welcome to our world. Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, how you guys doing? Today we're going to be doing our first movie review on
Dead Snow 2.
Red vs. Dead.
A couple things about it. The director was Tommy Wirkola. Some of the movies that he's done would be... Other than this?
Gretel, the Witch Hunters.
Ugh, really?
You didn't like that movie?
I haven't seen it, but it does not look good.
I saw it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was done pretty good, but we won't talk about that because maybe that could be another movie review.
Yeah, only other thing that's notable would be Dead Snow 1.
He's done a lot of other... he's a Norwegian director, so he does a lot of their movies over there, but the ones that I think most people will know about, because both these movies, Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, are both on Netflix. And then Hansel and Gretel are the only ones that I know of that he's done, but the other movies I've never even heard of.
Yeah, the only two actors of note that I can see would be the protagonist of the show, which would be Bager Hull.
Plays the character of Martin.
He's been in Dead Snow 1, Dead Snow 2,
and other Norwegian films.
Hansel and Gretel, but it was nobody.
He was probably a peasant in that movie.
Yeah. Other person would be Martin Starr. He did nothing in two movies a couple movies. He was in This Is the End, which was a good movie, but
he played himself. He's probably just an extra.
Just to die, basically.
Yeah, and then Superbad he was in, which is just an extra.
Yeah, he was just a pothead in that.
Yeah.
That was literally, he was in there for about 30 seconds. He didn't even have a line, to tell you the truth. Then he was in Knocked Up. And this would be the one that he's the character I remember most from Knocked Up, because
I don't remember him at all.
They make a bet in that movie, to pay the rent or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Martin Starr's character has to grow his facial hair out and his hair out for a year, and he basically ends up looking like Jesus. And that's the only reason why I remember him.
Guy now.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you recognize anybody?
The only extra person that I noticed right away was, I can't pronounce her name very well, but she's the lady cop in there. She's the one where the police chief asks her to dress casual, and she unbuttons her top button of her blouse and walks away. She is in Game of Thrones. She was one of a Dothraki that worked for the Dragon Queen lady.
I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. That's the nerdiest shit you've ever said. So how as far as the movie did, what was the budget for that film?
The budget was 35 million Norwegian crown, which converted is around about $4.2 million. And so for a movie, that's actually a very low budget to create a movie. And
I heard they got the higher budget because of Hansel and Gretel.
This movie paid for itself from the money that Hansel and Gretel made. So because the director took the money that he made from Hansel and Gretel and literally just made this movie with it. So it was a low budget film. We couldn't find what it made worldwide. It kept coming up with just what it made in the U.S., and it made an amazing $37,000.
Wow! I guess there is a reason why we're reviewing it on the shitty movie list.
Yeah. But surprisingly, Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 83%.
Yeah, but I don't know how much we can trust those guys.
Yeah, it gave the new Ghostbusters movie a really high rating, too. And that was a pretty horrible movie.
And that is one that I think I will refuse to watch for our shitty movie reviews.
Yeah, I will never.
Unless you guys really push for it. Yeah. So let's get this started with a plot summary,
Joe. Basically, the movie's about several friends take to the mountains and shack up in the wilderness in Norway somewhere. They do a little R&R.
Norwegian mountains.
They get interrupted by Nazi zombies. How funny is that?
Ooh.
They basically find a box of gold that the Nazi zombies had stolen from villagers in the area. And this box was cursed. The zombies became cursed. It never explains in either movie how they become cursed. But they come to collect the gold that these kids had found, these medical students. And they come to collect the gold because they wanted to take it. And it was kind of like, if you're familiar with the movie Leprechaun, it was kind of a little bit of feeling about that, how they stole the gold from the leprechaun and he was trying to get it. Yeah. So that's kind of a small little synopsis of the movie. So and
that's
the movie,
the first movie, right?
That's the first movie,
Yeah,
and even
okay.
the second movie has the same synopsis because it literally continues.
Yeah.
At the end of the first movie leads right into the first movie.
Now, some things that we should probably make of note is in the first movie, he gets our main character Martin gets bitten by zombies.
That's right,
and is
yeah.
forced to chop his arm off
With a chainsaw.
He gives the gold back to the zombies. They leave him alone, and he gets back to his car, finds gold on him
That had been put in his pocket by one of his friends that he didn't know was there, and it fell out of his pocket on the floor. And the movie literally ends right where the second one takes off, where he is running, getting in the car. The main bad guy, Herzog, he's the leader of the Nazi zombies, punching through the window. And it was funny because he's fighting off all these zombies out of his car and driving a stick shift with one arm, mind you. And he manages to get it in the first gear and to drive off with all these zombies attacking him and on the car.
Yeah, I'm not even going to comment because I just thought that scene was terrible. I did like where it leads, which is they're driving down the road. He's fighting Herzog.
Yep.
And a trucker smashes into Herzog.
Tractor trailer. Yeah, he leads right up next to it and kind of hits him. And he falls right off. And it's funny because the guy that's driving thinks he ran somebody over and he's freaking out. And he gets out and runs over and sees this.
Checks his pulse. There's no pulse, and he gets real freaked out. He starts doing CPR. That was actually funny to me.
And if you think about a rotting corpse trying to do mouth to mouth to a rotting corpse, it'd probably be pretty gross. But it's kind of dry heaving, so it was kind of comical.
Yeah,
to see that.
So for me, one of the things that got a little chuckle out of me was the part where he's driving away. He's got the zombies gone, and he turns on the radio because he's just, I'm done with that now after his friends have just died. He basically plays the song to keep himself awake. Yeah. But it's still not...
Yeah, he's driving over the road, he's crashing, and then he drives off a cliff, basically.
Yes.
And literally the next scene, he's waking up in the hospital.
Yes.
And the thing I thought was pretty funny is that he's waking up, realizing where he's at, how long he's been out, and the doctor's like, well, we found your arm, and we're able to save it. And he sawed it on. And what we forgot to mention in the last scene is that he literally had chopped off Herzog's arm in the car with the window. He rolled up the window, and it chopped off the arm, I think.
Or, something that I said.
Yeah. And the car, and Herzog's arm was left in the car with him. And remember, he chopped off his arm.
The same
arm with the chainsaw in the first movie. So the doctor's like, good luck. We've saved your arm, and we were able to put it reattach it back down. He woke up and he's got a zombie arm.
Yes, that ends up. He's basically, while he's in there, he's being questioned as to what happened. Mm-hmm. He goes on and on about Nazi zombies. They think he's crazy, and they say how his prints have been found at the scene of the crime.
Yeah,
and he killed his girlfriend,
possibly
Hannah,
all of his friends.
And while this is all going on, he ends up slicing the doctor.
Yeah, slicing the doctor. Kind of, if you're familiar with the old movie from the 90s called Idle Hands, how the hand kind of possesses that boy and makes him kind of strong. It's kind of the same thing. He has like zombie strength in this one arm, and he's able to like take the scalpel and just slice this doctor's chest wide open and throw the cups around the room.
Yes, which I don't know. I wasn't under the impression that the doctor was dead because that was just a cut right here.
Yeah, he could have lived.
He could have lived, but debatable. So from there, they put a sedative in his neck. He passes out, and when he comes to, there's a little
American boy in there on vacation. That his mom got the flu, and he's wandering around the hospital.
Yes, and Martin wants to get out. He wants to get out because he has nightmares that these zombies are still. Was it?
They're just running. It shows like scenes of like those Nazi zombies.
Yeah, and I was under the impression that he kind of understood that they were still there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he gets this boy. He says, "Hey, you gotta let me out." And the boy says, "No, I can't do that." And he offers him double fudge chocolate to get him out. And the kid jumps at the idea, And he's also saying how cool the arm is.
Yeah, he said it looks like he sent a picture, and he was like, "I got to send a picture to my friends. They're the zombie squad. They help. You know, your arm looks like a zombie arm. I'm gonna take a picture to send it to my zombie squad internet page."
Yeah, which funny side note, the Zombie Squad is a real organization that are getting like together in the case of zombie attacks, what to do. Anyways,
weird people out there.
Yes. So the boy gets him out,
sets him free.
Sets him free. Then he's trying to figure a way out, and all of a sudden,
there's bars on the windows. The boy wants to. He's like, "Hey, where's my chocolate?" And he's like, "F off, boy. There was no chocolate." And the boy kind of like shoves him a little bit, and then with his crazy zombie arm, kind of gives the boy a little nudge, but it ended up being like a Superman nudge, and
throws him,
flung him out the window with the bars on it. And he hops out and tries to help the little boy by doing CPR. Yeah. And what happens? Yeah, well, he tries to do CPR with. You notice he wasn't breathing because he just threw him probably like 100 feet out a window, and he tries to do CPR with that strong arm he has, and ends up just crushing his whole chest into his heart, and probably out the backside, and just.
Well, he pulls out the
heart, and
for me,
I laughed out loud. I thought that part was pretty funny.
I hated the scene. There's 2 or 3 points where they kill children in this movie and babies, and honestly, it was too much for me. I felt that there could have been better ways for them to have done things, and I didn't feel you don't kill kids in movies. That's just my standpoint.
I'm always in a shocker when they do kill kids, because it's true, you don't see a lot of movies where they kill children, and when they do, I'm kind of like, wow, they're pressing the envelope here, and I like it when you kind of walk that line of borderline.
Okay, you can kill kids. My issue is when you're ripping a God, what is he? 10 years old?
He's
a 10-year-old
10 years old
heart out. Okay, I don't find that funny.
It was an accident death. It wasn't like he deliberately killed him.
Yes. So from there, one of the officers finds him with the kid's heart in his hand. So he runs away, saying how it's gonna. He's like, I didn't mean to, and he's trying to get away, and he rips a Mercedes star.
Yeah, Mercedes emblem off a Mercedes car. The cop jumps down, and his strong zombie arm just like ninja stars that thing right into the cop's forehead and takes him out.
For me, that scene was shown in the trailer multiple times. When I saw it in the trailer, it was funny. Mm-hmm. When I saw it again on screen, it didn't ring in for me. There were multiple times in this movie where I was like, they're going for funny. I see why it's funny.
You just didn't laugh.
I didn't laugh. They go overboard. Like, I can compare this movie kind of to Shaun of the Dead, but Shaun of the Dead did a better job at being funny.
Yeah, I will say, Shaun of the Dead was a much funnier movie than this movie.
They decided to push the line because they're like, if we go more and more bloody, more and more crazy. And I don't like blood and gore in my films. That's why I hate Quentin Tarantino films. Yes. It was done too much. And we'll discuss it later on, how grotesque they can get.
Yeah.
But this is where we get introduced to the Americans, because as he's driving away, he realizes he has the little boy's phone on him.
That's right. Yep.
And the Americans come in, and they basically offer to help.
Yeah, he calls him and tells him that little boy's dead, and that's where they introduce the 3 Americans is Daniel, Monica, and Blake. And I actually like these characters because they were super nerdy, kind of geeky, living in their parents' basement, trying to start some, zombie squad, preparing themselves for the apocalypse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I really liked Monica because she was kind of like a Star Wars nerd. So everything that she talked about had a Star Wars reference in it.
Yes.
Everything she mentioned had something to do with Star Wars, little puns or whatnot. I thought that was pretty entertaining. I really liked when they introduced those characters. So.
And I thought that they were cheap characters. They were meant to bring in more audiences, Americans.
Oh, it obviously failed.
For sure. They failed. My issue with it is, all these characters, I didn't feel connected to any of the characters yet. None of them. I thought, when we get brought in, we get the 3 zombie squad members. They obviously suck at what they do. What's his name? Daniel throws the axe, misses the head completely. Again, obviously supposed to be funny.
When they're practicing in the basement.
When he's practicing in the basement, I'm not laughing. It's not funny to me. I get how they're trying to parody Americans. Again, the Star Wars lines were supposed to be funny. Oh, all she ever does is quote Star Wars. That's all of her lines are Star Wars quotes.
And her friends made fun of her for it too.
They did. Again, I'm not laughing, and this is supposed to be a comedy.
No.
So
I laughed.
You laughed, and that's fine. And to each their own. But this movie so far has not won me over, and we can discuss further as they decide to go to Norway. And on their way, and once they get to Norway, they do what? They go to the hardware store, since obviously.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that scene. Yeah, as soon as they get off the plane, they're like, we need ammo.
We need ammo.
Yeah. And they go to the hardware store and they buy all the hose and the shovels. And
the shovels, the
axes,
the hammers. And I thought it was done really well because, to me, I'm like, why the hell are they out there getting all these things? Why don't they just go and get some guns?
Yeah.
And it's they say, as they're leaving, what the hell's wrong with this country? We can't have any guns?
Yeah. A lot of European countries, they don't really have guns for sale. They pretty much are anti-gun over there.
Yes.
Even the police don't carry guns. They're all locked up in a safe for only like extreme emergencies only.
Is that why? Because I was wondering to myself when Martin was trying to escape the hospital, why didn't the police officer just shoot at him? And there's your answer.
Yeah, it's just like, France, the cops, normal policemen don't walk around with guns. England's the same way.
Yes. So while all this is happening,
Martin had set up he wanted to go to the museum. Yeah.
To learn more about the zombies.
Yeah. This particular zombie of Colonel Herzog, he wanted to learn more about him and where he came from. And it didn't really, that scene when you get to the museum, when he finally went to learn about it, they didn't really hit too much on like why. All they talked about was he was in charge of the shipyard and the trade. And back
no. But yeah, they were in charge of basically destroying the town of, what was that? I got it in my notes somewhere. Talvik. It's the town of Talvik.
Yeah. And that's why they stole all the gold.
That's what they got the gold for, and their other issue was they had to destroy Talvik.
Yeah.
And
but
that's
they
why
also there was a lot of water, and it was part of the German naval shipyard areas, which the colonel was in charge of. But I felt like there wasn't a lot of character development of Herzog. Even in the first movie and this one, there wasn't a lot of backstory to Herzog and why he was cursed or why
it doesn't explain the curse. But while they're at the museum, a lot of stuff happens. We meet one of the main characters, Glenn, and he when I first saw him, I immediately, like when he was reading the newspaper, I immediately thought that he was a woman. Until he brought it down, and then you find out
he was a little femi.
He was a little bit feminine, and basically, Martin has Glenn take him up to the World War II exhibit, and that's where they learn all the information.
Yep.
And this is where the
zombies show up
and kill all the
guests
tourists.
there. Yeah, all the tourists at this museum. How they showed up there, I think he was tracking. I think Herzog could feel his arm or something.
No, it was.
I don't remember why they didn't really explain that to you. I don't know if
it
you
did.
caught that.
I believe he had originally gone to the graveyard. He had originally gone to the graveyard.
Yep.
And he found out he couldn't resurrect all the zombies because
there were too
many dead people.
Deteriorated.
Yeah, because he has the ability
to
resurrect zombies. Then I think by happenstance they come across the museum on their way to Talvik.
So it literally was just a crossroads basically for them. They were just coincidence.
And coincidence
for
the story. I that's what I got from it. Was mainly coincidence.
I totally missed that part. I was like, here they are, randomly showing up at the museum. How do they know he was there? So I never caught that. So yeah, it got to be a coincidence or something.
Yeah, and they end up going down, killing all the tourists, while Glenn and Martin watch. Glenn in horror. Martin just kind of like, oh yeah, it's same old shit.
And some of these killing scenes were pretty funny to me. I thought that. I know you don't like a lot of gore.
It was overdone.
And to me, it's a zombie movie, and with a zombie movie, you're going to expect a lot of gore and a lot of guts, and that's what you got in this scene. You got torsos being ripped open. They even killed a crippled guy, and they bit him, and they turned some of the other zombies into it.
Turn other people into zombies.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out that Herzog has the ability to bring people back by just touching them, like dead people, not just
dead humans,
Germans.
not just Nazis. Where he resurrects the Nazis, he like punches the ground, and this blue lightning comes into the ground, and brings back all the zombies.
Now, my issue is you were talking about the kills. You said that's what you expect from a zombie film, and I do.
Yeah.
And my issue is they were going for funny. It was so overdone. It wasn't funny to me. You
didn't think it was funny when they tore out all that guy's intestines and bit the ends off and used it as a hose to siphon gasoline into the tank?
I thought it went on for too long. Because they were just pulling and pulling. I'm just like,
well, you got to think how long all your intestines are.
And again, I didn't think it was funny.
Oh man!
Like I saw, I was like, I get they're going for funny, and maybe you laughed.
At first, I was like, man. It's like they're really just playing this, ripping the intestines out. Like, I didn't understand the whole point of it. And then all of a sudden he bit the end off.
Yeah.
And then shoved the intestines down the bus tank. And then the other guy's on a tank on the tank, opens up the gas tank for the tank, and bites that on it and starts siphoning the fuel and starts putting it in the tank. And then I just started laughing.
And the whole time I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head. I feel like an old granny, but yeah, didn't find it funny. I thought it was repulsive. I thought it was stupid.
Oh, I thought it was
amazing. So they go in to the museum after doing all of this, getting all that stuff, and the zombies take all of the stuff, shatter all this.
He's after a certain map too.
So in this scene, Joey thinks it's funny that
they come upstairs and they have nowhere place to go. So how do you hide from a zombie? You dress up as a mannequin and don't move.
Which the interesting thing about these zombies is they're not like normal zombies.
Yeah, they're just cursed people that look like rotting corpses. Is basically all they really are.
And one of the dead zombies does take a good long stare at them, like, "Oh, is this really? Yeah, Glenn, is this really a mannequin?" And anyways, they leave, and this is where Martin and Glenn go down and find out about.
They see more zombies, and he uses his strong arm, kills like 3 or 4 zombies. He grabs one by the head and smashes it against the bus.
What I've been talking shit on this movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The fight scenes are like the fight scenes that aren't just the zombies being disgusting are amazing. I loved watching Martin just destroy these zombies, and
punching holes through them and everything. Yeah.
That I did laugh. I thought those were awesome scenes. And then we get to the scene where we find out Martin has a special power. Brings zombies.
He happens to see that one guy in a wheelchair that was killed. He just looks at him with his zombie hand and touches him, and it resurrects him. And
he closes his eyes.
That's right. He goes to close his eyes.
Of him
because he feels bad. He closes his eyes, and with that touch, reanimates him and brings him back as a zombie.
And this is the person I call.
And he's able to walk.
Doggy zombie, because. This zombie, I feel so bad for him. He gets killed a grand total of 7 times and brought back each time by Martin.
Yeah,
yes. The first time,
he resurrects him the first time and then gets shocked that he's alive because he didn't know he resurrected him. And then
thought he was an evil zombie, smashed him. Then he says, "Oh, I can bring him back to life." Brings him back to life again. They start talking, and this is when the Americans show up.
And he gets a hatchet to the face. Yeah.
And this is the part where we basically get what they're going to do to combat the zombies, which is zombie with zombies.
Yeah.
The Americans come up. I believe Daniel comes up with the plan. Now, the issue I have going forward is that the Daniel decides, you know what? 2 of us have to go and resurrect these Russian zombies to fight the Nazi zombies.
Yeah.
And he decides, you know what? I'm going to send the girls and the feminine guy to hold off
the slow up Herzog.
The slow up Herzog.
Yeah.
Why would you send the women to do the harder, dangerous job?
Because he had to because Martin had to go resurrect the.
I understand Martin, but why would Daniel not? Why would Daniel say, "Hey, you know what? You go hold these deadly zombies off."
He was kind of the whole real puny geeky guy.
But to the point where he let women,
they look like they're a little bit better shape than this guy was.
Come on, but as a man,
hey,
okay,
take his man card.
So this gets us to the next scene, which is when the zombies take the what type of tank is it?
The Tiger, the
Tiger tank,
the Tiger tank from World War II. Yeah,
and on the way to Talvik, the zombies go through a random little village,
yeah, and they just
kill everyone in it. And
anybody in their path,
zombies.
they run them. Oh, my favorite part was that when that mom fell out the window, and she landed on her back, and that tank just ran her whole top part of her body over.
Yes, again, needless violence. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of this genre. Runs her over.
So basically, they're just tearing through this town while they're all running. The two girls and Glenn are running, and while the other two are working their way to the graveside of the Soviets,
which comes to one of my favorite parts, and that Martin falls asleep and is woken up by Daniel, who says they're stuck. And they walk outside, and Martin says, "You want me to just lift the car out because of his zombie arm, right?"
The rear tire is covered; it's stuck in all the mud.
And he says, "No, I think it'd be better if we have something big
traction.
that will get traction." And they decide to put Doggy Zombie under.
Yeah, they put the Doggy Zombie guy. They lay him gently down and get his body pressed up against the tire.
And he kind of already knows that this is about to be a shit run for him. And they end up just smashing this poor zombie.
Yeah, they run him over from the groin up and to get traction to get going. And then they resurrect him and then put him back in the car. He's covered in mud and he's mutilated from the tire burning out on his face and everything.
Well, yeah, so that happens and they successfully find the graveyards and resurrect them. Which brings us to
another funny scene was that was comical with this tank. All of a sudden, they have rounds for this tank.
Yes, which
they're trying to distract the zombies and slow them down. The humans are, and then the tank is randomly shooting shells out the cannon at these people. And I'm thinking, like, wow, where did they get the
active rounds? This has been at a museum for how many years? Yeah. So we come up to the final battle, and this is actually where it gets interesting for me because it's not this needless, senseless violence. It's a battle between zombies, so you're expecting tons of gore. The fight scene was amazing. I actually heard that I was reading somewhere that the zombies were actually MMA fighters.
Oh wow!
Which is what made them which made the fight scenes more entertaining. Mm-hmm. In the battle, Martin realizes that he has to go one-on-one with Herzog. And one of my favorite scenes is when Martin gets thrown through the house, up through the second story. He falls down the stairs, and then just looks at him like, ugh. And then the zombie grabs Martin, throws him through the wall, and puts him on the stove, and burns his face. That was comical for me.
Yeah. Most
of this movie isn't comical. That made me laugh.
At least something did in this movie made you laugh.
No, I said the Doggy Zombie. Doggy.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to say is, as the zombies are all fighting, they realize that the Soviet zombies and the Americans realize they're losing. And I'm going to preface this by saying, there was a scene earlier in the movie where I was like, oh my god, I hope Glenn doesn't die. I hope Glenn doesn't die. I actually really like Glenn's character. And then I realized, I'm like, what have they done to make me like Glenn? I don't care whether anybody lives or dies in this movie. That's the issue with the movie. There comes a point where Glenn is saying, they're sure they're all going to die. And Glenn's just like, I have something I want to say. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't care whether Glenn lives or dies. And right as I think that, an emotional scene, Glenn gets a knife to the neck and dies. And I'm thinking, who cares?
Yeah,
is that what you kind of got to?
I didn't have any attachment to any character in this movie, which was fine for me because I knew it was a type of movie that I didn't need to have an attachment to any character. This movie was purely just violence and gore and zombie killing is basically all I wanted to watch this movie for.
And I felt that was poorly. I felt even if that's all it's about, you should have some sort of connection to the characters, and that might be why it wasn't funny. The movie wasn't that funny to me because if I had more connection to each of the characters, I might have.
I think the director. I don't even think the director was really trying to push character development or have anybody really like a character too much. I think he just wanted to make an entertaining
zombie movie. Yeah. I guess it's not
like for Walking Dead. My favorite characters is Rick and Michonne. Those are my two characters. I'm really attached to them. Mm-hmm. If any one of those die, I'm going to be devastated. Probably not watch the show anymore because that's how upset I'm going to be. But because I'm really attached to it. But they want you to have attachments to those characters.
They wanted you to
in
have
this movie in Dead Snow. I don't think the writer.
They wanted you to have an emotional connection to Glenn. Mm-hmm. For sure, they did. And after this scene, I realized that if your name is Glenn and you're in a zombie apocalypse, you gonna die. You gonna die. And brutally too.
Yeah.
So after this, we get more fighting. They realize that if they kill Herzog, the fight will be over because he's the one that brings him to life.
How did they kill him? How did they kill Herzog?
With a tank.
They blew him up.
They blew his head off.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. It all. They get through a fight. They somehow end up on the Tiger tank. Mm-hmm. And Daniel's inside the tank, and he's fighting two zombies off. He gets impaled, survives, and as Martin's losing the fight, Daniel starts turning the tanks. What is that top one?
The cannon.
The cannon. Yeah, he's turning the cannon. Yeah. And Martin's kind of like realizes what's going on, so he's backing up away from Herzog. He's like, "Oh, you lost the war, right? The reason you lost was because of greed, and that's why you lose again." And boom.
And then all the other zombies just shut off like a kill switch.
Yes. Now that's the end of the fight. They all get back together. They all basically thanks to the Americans for helping him. Then we get to
a really interesting scene. So basically, at the end of the first movie, Martin accidentally kills his girlfriend
in the heat of a fight.
In the heat of a fight, she sneaks up behind him, and he thought she was a zombie, and he slit her throat or hit her in the neck with an axe, and she died. Well,
he digs her up, and the moment he goes into this graveyard where his girlfriend Hannah is buried, immediately I'm thinking Pet Sematary, and I'm thinking, why is he bringing her back? Mm-hmm. It's literally just so that the director can
push the envelope again
and have
zombie sex. He brings her back, and they're in their car, and they're doing zombie sex. And when I saw that, I thought of the movie. Immediately thought of Peter Jackson's movie Dead Alive. It came out in '92. A lot of people probably haven't seen it, but it was like Peter Jackson's second film he ever made, and there was a scene where two zombies, they had sex, and then they actually had a zombie baby. So wasn't the first time that they've had zombies have sex on film.
But one was zombie, one was human, and the makeout scene before the sex, I almost puked. So
and then credits roll, pretty much.
Credits roll. Now,
I enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
It sounds like you didn't enjoy it.
I apparently did not like this movie at all. Do you give this movie a turd or a polished turd?
I give it a polished turd. Just because it's, I watched the movie for what it was, knowing that obviously we're reviewing a crappy movie, so I know already it's going to be a bad movie. It's purely just entertainment of a zombie movie. It's a cheaply made zombie movie. It's quick and to the point. A lot of plot holes. When I mean a lot of plot holes, they even had zombies wearing modern day uniforms that were supposed to be Nazis. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I definitely would give this one a nice polished turd, nice smooth, no bumps or anything in it, nice and smooth out, polished turd. I really enjoyed it. So
I absolutely give this a turd. It's diarrhea to me. Okay.
But do you like violence or extra gore?
I don't like extra gore. I already told you this. I I felt it went too far too often, and the reason they did it was for comedy's sake, and I didn't laugh.
You were
once.
offended.
I was offended.
You
by
were
some
offended.
Of it. I was offended by some of it. I won't lie. Now that being said, I did like the fight scenes. I did like Doggy Zombie. Here's the issue. It's 100 minutes long. I liked about 10 or 15 minutes of it. I can't recommend a movie that I only like 10 or 15 minutes of. So,
yeah, if you don't like gore, then don't watch it. Also, we'll give a quick shout out to Bretton Cruisenberry. He's the one that recommended us to do the review on this. So, thank you, Cruisenberry.
If you guys have a good movie that you'd or a terrible movie that you want us to review, please send it in.
Another one, yeah.
Send us another one. And as always, we love to hear your feedback on our episodes. You can comment on our Facebook.
Email.
The email is worldofwesandjoe@yahoo.com. All right, this has been Wes.
And this has been Joe with the World of Wes and Joe. Peace.